Hello, this is Francisco Mela, and we are in Coffee Talk.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Perlak. I'm the chair of the guitar department here at Berklee College of Music, and welcome to another Coffee Talk. We're joined as usual by Assistant Chair Sheryl Bailey. Hey Sheryl.
Hey there, I'm drinking some, it says it's healthy energy. It's just a lot of caffeine and some kind of tonic water, so I'm trying it.
But wait, it's called Aspire, so maybe that we can aspire to a good day.
I don't know, I'll let you know after I drink it.
And we're also joined as usual by Senior Coordinator Ben Cody. Hey Ben.
Good morning.
Good morning. And our special guest today is Associate Professor of Percussion and our great friend Francisco Mela.
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, Good morning, everybody. Again, great to be here to share some, let's say, some message
That sounds
with all
great.
of you.
That sounds great. So we came in this morning together, Mela and I grabbed my coffee and he's drinking hot chocolate. So the first question is always, do you drink coffee? And what's your strategy with coffee?
Yeah, like I was saying before, it's hard for me to drink coffee outside of my house. The first thing that I do every time when I wake up is drinking coffee, the coffee that my wife make. And so to go some other places and drink coffee is a little, and so I prefer to go with the hot chocolate.
That's good. That's a lot of people have that strategy. Like, can you adapt to coffee on the road, or do you just not adapt? You just drink the one you like, and then you drink other things.
Well, you just say when we are on the road, it's different. We have to play the road, and so any coffee is welcome.
Yeah. And so another question we ask right away is about Berklee first days. And you were here at Berklee in for two different periods of your life.
Oh yeah.
And tell us about the first time you came to Berklee. How did that feel? Like, what's something that you remember about that?
Well, what I remember is that I want to be a percussion student, but I did my audition. It didn't work that way. Because I was already 33 years old. They consider me older, so they gave me half of the tuition, the scholarship, and I went around. I say I want to stay here in Boston, and I start playing at Wallis, and year later, they asked me because the way that I play was a little different for them. Many students start asking me to teach them. And so Berklee found out that I was teaching Berklee students. And so at some point they called me, hey, do you want to teach here? And I say, yes. And so that was around 2004 until 2009 when I got the call from McCoy Tyner. I thought I was gonna be only for a few gigs, but that how do you say a sabbatical year?
It turned into a like a whole year
The whole
away.
well,
Yeah.
I was supposed to do a sabbatical year, but it was like a 9 year sabbatical
9 years of that.
because I started playing with McCoy every day, and I came back in 2017.
Welcome back. We're so
Thank you.
glad. We're glad to have you back. You said something in there that I thought was really interesting about your style. You said that the students were attracted to you because you played differently. And I think that there are so many people here at Berklee and far beyond that love playing with you because you can do many different styles and many different projects. And you also have something that's very much your style. Like, how would you describe how you play the drums and how you play percussion and what you love about your sound?
Yeah. Uh, well, just to answer the first part of the question, I say I call it different because when I when I heard the people here in Boston playing, I was like in shock. I was like, wow, this is different. And I was just coming from Cuba via Cancun, Mexico. And so the way that we hear jazz in our countries is different than when you step in the ground here and listen to the. And so I thought that something that helped me, it was that I was already older person. And so it didn't affect me in a way to be scared. It was the other way around. It was in a positive way. Okay, I have what I have, the Cuban thing. So my culture, Cuban culture is very strong. I just need to adapt what I bring to what they have. So I found myself playing different. It was different. And people like it. That combination, Latin jazz with the jazz sound. And so that's what I call different. And I remember that I was trying to get rid of that because I want to sound like the people here, like jazz guys here. But then one guy said to me, why? Because what you have is special. Nobody has that. Keep playing your Latin jazz with your jazz and mix it up. And this is amazing. Of course, I didn't have the experience to listen to myself in a recording yet, until I listened to myself one day when I record, and I was like, wow, it's different, it's nice, it's good, and so that's been helping me to a little by little to get used to my sound, and it's been working. I remember McCoy the first time John Lovano, first of all, he said to me, when we were playing with the band, two drummers, with Esperanza, Otis Brown, Jess Wyman, I couldn't make one gig, and I said, Lovano, but you have Otis Brown, just get another drummer. And Lovano said to me, Mela, you don't understand what happened. Drummers like Otis Brown I can find anywhere, but not like you. You have something that really affects my music. So that was when I start understanding that, wow, I had to keep what I have because this is who I am. That's it.
Sheryl, I want to ask you about this because you play with a lot of great drummers, and sometimes you play with Mela. Is there something like when you hear his playing as a guitar player, a jazz guitar player, what do you hear in there that is unique to him, and stylistically maybe something that fits what you're doing and also from his perspective?
Well, first I just wanted to say, I think it's interesting your thoughts about you were coming here as an older student. You know, you'd had a career and you had developed something, and then coming here and hearing, the jazz drummers here, that you integrated that into what you do to become really even stronger, a stronger force of how you express yourself. And I don't know, I just wanted to maybe talk about that for a second, because sometimes, a lot of our students are younger, maybe coming out of high school or, wherever that would be, also internationally, the equivalent of that. And, they haven't really even gotten to that place where they have the fundamentals on their instrument to really have their own voice. So I don't know, maybe to talk about that even before we get into that, like how you developed yourself, in your experiences in Cuba and touring and stuff like that. Then to come here, you were at a place where sometimes people can get, if their ego is fragile, they can get destroyed by that. Like, oh, there are these great players. But for you, you were at this point where you could take that in and add it to what you did, not make it bring you down. So I don't know, maybe just to talk about just before that, like how you developed the first stages of your playing, so then you could integrate in the second stages and then becoming your own voice.
Well, I know what I was bringing, a Cuban drummer, the way that we play in Cuba. I always love the sound of jazz, which is like I was saying before. When we are in our countries, we listen to the records without really watching in live, in present. The musicians, what we hear over there is that through the records is a different thing. And so I knew that I loved that sound. I don't know what is jazz, but I just know that that sound, when I hear it, I love it. So I
Can I
knew that
can I ask you something? Just so, I'm very curious about because I know the learning music in Cuba is a really very different experience than how we learn here, and I'm sure you started from a very young age. And I'm also curious what records you heard and what drummers that you heard like that.
well, first of all, I didn't start so young. I wish. I start at 18 years old. That was my first time going to the music school. 18 years old, because I was a painter. I was going to the art school. I'm sorry. And when they kicked out, because I wasn't a good painter anyways, when they kicked me out of the school, my father went to me and he said, yo, you are older person already, 18 years old. What are you gonna do? You're like, I wanna do something artistically. Okay, he took me to the school. I was gonna be in the coro because there's no other specialty open. I mean, other department instrument open. Until I get there as a coro singer, blah blah blah. And these kids were playing in the school percussion, and they said, "You should be with us. You don't belong to the coro. With that voice, you don't gonna go so far." And so they say, well, I say, well, what should I do? Just play the clave. And then I start playing in Cuba, it's very easy to get into the, okay, get the conga, get this, and I keep it. And they went to the church department percussion. Oh, this guy is good. He just played the clave, he sustained it, and he can sing a little bit on top of that. And so that was the way that I entered the school. And so that's just to answer that I never went to school before. And so now, how I'm glad that the teacher that I had encouraged me so much. He said, you can make it, you can make it. Because all the kids around, they already went to the elementary school. And I'm the oldest, the only one who never went to the elementary school. And so they put me there. I don't know how to grab the stick. I don't know what is one a quarter note or 1/8 note. So I had to do it. And I just know that I did it like, I just have 4 years to graduate with those students. So I had to work hard. So now, the way that we learn things over there, there's, in my time, in 19, from 84 to 87, there was no, we wasn't allowed to play any popular music. I just learned snare drums and how to read snare and how to read. If I sit down the drums, that was a political problem because the drums is from America. So you had to play Cuban music, son tradicional, popular salsa, whatever. But like I said, I remember listening to the radio in my house, in that station that was from America, and my dad used to play jazz. I didn't know what it was, but I know that I like that sound. And so now when I'm a musician, that I consider myself a musician because I'm in the music school, is when I start to connect that sound with what I was doing. And so sometimes I will get into the drum set, hiding when nobody see me, and play a little things. That was that. I taught myself, basically. I never had a teacher for like we do here, telling them what is the style, snare, nothing like that. So basically, Sheryl, I grew up teaching myself. And so that sound, like the sound that I'm talking about, that thing is what I am now. I never had this teacher telling me do this. This is the technique, Moller technique, and then you go no. Only, of course, when I moved to Cancun, I already know a little bit of drumming and play with some bands around because you have to make it. In Cancun, Mexico, is when I start like listening to more American drummers that goes there, tourists, and actually I met Danilo over there.
Oh, Danilo Perez from
Danilo
the Global
Perez
Jazz.
was Danilo was there,
Yeah.
and I met him, and Lovano went there too.
Joe Lovano.
Amazing.
Yeah, right.
Okay, these people are the people like Danilo is the guy that said to me, "You should go to Berklee College Music. That's a jazz. No, you should go to NEC, England, in New England Conservatory, because at that time Danilo was teaching there." But anyways, I didn't know what sound was when I remember playing one day here in Boston or having a session with somebody. I don't want to mention the name. And that person said to me, "You need to work in your sound." What? I'm coming from Cuba. Nobody taught me what it sounds mean. Nothing. I'm just teaching myself, copying from the videos. And I think Sheryl, that was when I really started thinking about sound in 2000 when I got here. Of course, I did my audition, but nobody told me anything. They just said that I play okay, good. This is the scholarship. But when I start going around Wallis and all the jazz club, you are right when you said that I couldn't be better than what I did. I had to be humble. I needed to be open to learn because I didn't know the sound of jazz. When I went to Wallis and I saw these guys swinging so hard over there, dead and buried with Vicente Archie and John Lankin, all these guys over there, I was like, oh my gosh. And so Charles Haynes, and I don't know if you know those names, those guys that Robert Glasper used to sit in over there. Roy Harwood will come when he was playing at Regatta Bar. Well, all these things helped me to figure it out with the comment that person made to me, what sound is. So I started to build a little, I mean, I needed to learn the tradition. I didn't know how to play the 4/4. I didn't know what was that thing. And so the sound that I have, and you're right again, when you say that I'm getting stronger, it's true. I'm still incorporating things that I learned from the master to my own a little thing. And so I think that is what making who I am today. But I learned, I had to copy and transcribe a lot of guys around Boston, a lot.
I have to jump in here because I think Sheryl, you'll probably have this common experience. Like, so Sheryl and you play together, and then you and I also play together.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've never seen someone listen so much as part of a rehearsal. Like you're recording everything we do. You're coming in all the time with your earbuds in, like, oh, I was thinking about our project and I'm listening to this sound, and tell me what you think about this, and sending things. And one time when we were having a conversation with a friend of ours, you said something like, talent is a gift and listening is a responsibility.
Yeah.
Because that's really how you developed your whole sound that's so unique, that's so revered now in music. People think of you with this beautiful sound that's so versatile, and you really learned by listening.
Well, I have to.
Yeah, we all have to, but I mean, you really grabbed that.
I have to.
I mean, I feel like the other thing, when you're talking about humility, you and Sheryl are talking about being humble and being open, that's something you lead with. Even as a master, I think, like, and that also, the way that we started playing together, for example, it's a good example of how that welcomes people, I think, because I don't know if you remember when you came in here and you said, oh, we have to play. And even though I couldn't envision what that might be like at the time, you were so welcoming in the way you asked that it was almost like we had to do it.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
that has something to do with to play music is not only to play music, it's an invitation.
Right.
And when you play with someone, you're inviting that person. And sometimes you are welcome, but sometimes you are not welcome. And that reflects on the music.
Right.
You don't need to say a word. You just play and not welcome here. And we need to have the capacity. We need to have that capacity of see where you are welcome, where not, where you are not welcome. And I think that the most important thing when you say, I want to play with this person, it's an invitation. You have to use your talent, that's true. But you want to see if the person that you are inviting as well as you is listening to. Because you can be playing with somebody, but that somebody is just sharing with you their talent, but he's not being responsible and listening.
Yeah.
And you don't need to say a word. You just, by the touch thing, the way that you respond, and the way that they respond, if that doesn't, somebody's being not responsible there. But they are there because they has been invited to play together.
Right.
The invitation is not only, hey, let's play.
Right.
It's when you say, yes, let's do it. Now we're inviting together. So now when we are here, if you play one, if you play one chord, and I just start doing this, so I'm not welcoming you.
That's right.
So that's why the listening is a responsibility.
Right.
The other day I was teaching. I'm in my room, and I decide, I don't know if I shared this with you, that I decide to have 1 week of talking with the student.
Yes, you did. You did share
Remember?
that. Yeah, I do.
I don't. This week I decide not to teach. I don't want to touch instrument. They don't need to play with me. For me, they just come in, Sheryl, and they just gonna share with me their thought, their ambitions, what they want to do with their life, and that costs 1 hour or 30 minutes, whatever, depends. And they are so into, yes, I don't want to play, I don't want it, I just want to listen to you, professor, give me some insight, let me tell you this. Sometimes they come with a lot of crazy. My girlfriend left me, blah, 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 my brother knows, my mother knows. I said, yeah, let me listen to, keep going. Okay, 30 minutes, bye. But I was good because I was listening, and so I was responsible. I was like, I need to listen to the student, and not only play the scale, now the chorus, now bring the song, now play the tune on the, no, don't play nothing. Sit down over there and let me hear you. And so I'm in the middle of this with this student. And guess what? Bo Moses, Rakalan calls. Ring, and I say, oh my gosh, should I? Okay, Bob, I'm in the middle of the lesson, can I? Oh, no, I just replying to your call. Call me later. But no, Rakalan, listen to me. I have a student, and I'm doing this experiment with the student this week. And the question of the experiment is, where do you see yourself in the future? And so, do you have any advice for the student? Rakalan says. That I was like, thank you. Rakalan says, yeah, I got a question for you. You like music? And the guy said, yeah, I'm a musician. Okay. So let me give you the advice. Don't play music, man. Everybody stay like this. And the guy, the student, what? What do you say? Don't play the music. Leave the music. And so Rakalan said, yeah, because everybody's playing a lot of stuff, but nobody's living the music. At my age today, I just want to listen the music. And I realized, he said, I just realized that I didn't have to wait until this time to listen the music. I should have been living the music from the first time that I start playing. And so I will be better human being, better person, better artist, better musician, and better me. And so things like that, Sheryl and Ben and Kim, those are the things that made us like every day stronger and stronger. I needed to listen to that because in somehow I live the music, but I don't know if I'm living. I think that I'm just playing. But now, when I start applying this, now my approach to the music is even more natural because I don't have to play. I'm just living the music. And I just move, touch the cymbal, react to, and it's amazing.
I want to ask you some questions about this because in what you and I do together in a duo and in your larger project, which you call Sounds of Freedom, you're bringing this approach that's so much about listening and relationships and communication and creating space to a style of music that sometimes people think about, I think, falsely as just making noise, right? And I want to talk about how that feels for you. And to introduce it, I just remember on that first day when we played together, we didn't know what was going to happen. I just came in and I started playing these chords from this piece I wrote, just really kind of ethereal. If you're a musician, they're like polytonal chords, they're stacked intervals and they're really colorful. And then that's what you did. You started touching the cymbal and started playing percussively, playing all this space. And I think we played for maybe 12 or 15 minutes without speaking and then stopped. And just creating all of this kind of sonic space for each other and together. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your concept of that idea of the way we were set up, also like facing each other. So the music is right in the middle of us, like we're building it together. And we never stopped doing it that way. But I think that was a natural. I just remember moving my chair when you started playing. We sort of turned towards each other as we were playing. And that idea of really listening through the sonic colors of an approach to what many people call free jazz or spontaneous composition. How do you think of that way of playing?
Well, I gotta say that you first of all, I had to admit that I was a little nervous because I didn't know what I was gonna expect by playing with a classical player, guitar player, to what I do. But to be honest, when we got into the same place talking about the music of Paul Motion with Bill Frisell or Gurdry, what is the Nick Gurdry?
Oh, Mick Goodrick, yeah, sure, yeah.
When we started in that space, that was a release for me because that is where I'm coming from. I spent those almost these 16 years in New York, in between playing with Lovano, with that kind of music, like that, very lyrical and sophisticated and open. And also I'm part of the avant-garde community there. And so I say that you made my life easier when you told me, I trust you. And so that's super important when we trust each other. That's it, no question, because if we don't trust each other, someone is going to be confused. And you can see that in the face, like, did I play good? You like what I did? You love the musical motion? You say, yes, I love the space, I love the sound. I say, simple, that's the answer. And so I was coming from that. And so it was for me easy to integrate to. And now, when we talk about facing each other, makes the music more strong.
Yeah.
Because now we don't let anybody interfere in our space.
Right.
So now the music stop right there. Stop being a music. Right there, we just creating an energy, art, and I don't like to use the word magic because I don't believe in magic. But the art and the right energy start creating when we start looking at each other with the trust and the space. And so that's what we do.
And then you also said to the audience a couple times when we were playing, like, now they have a responsibility as the listener to join us in the space, in the music. Yeah. Not in a judgmental way, do I like this, do I not like, but to be part of the moment.
Yeah.
Talk about that, how you feel the energy of, in that kind of setting, the energy of the listener.
Well, remember that most of the audience here when we were playing are students and some teachers. When you are a student in a school like that, when everything is super competitive, the most common thing when you go to the concert is to see if I play better or he makes mistakes. Just that. And so sometimes you see even your own student with this attitude.
Right, he's leaning back. If you're listening without watching, he's leaning back in judgment.
Let me see what my teacher or this guy is gonna do. Right. And so I make it clear because I think that I saw a couple of them with that attitude. Yeah. And I said to them, well, listen, you might think that you are listening to this music, but with that attitude, I didn't say like that, but I was really clear. With that attitude, be careful because the music is watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so everybody, I don't know if you felt, everybody went like, okay, the music is watching you. So be careful. Oh my gosh, they did like, okay. And so it's better to integrate what we are doing and be part of what we are doing. And so you're gonna benefit yourself by being part of what we're doing, not judging what you are listening. And so it was amazing. It was I thought that they react to that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that, Sheryl and I know, and Ben knows, and like, you're a completely open, adaptable, expressive person, and we all try to be that here. And yet there's still a way that people could say, oh, well, it's because you're all jazz musicians and you work together. And there's something that just proved that point of accessibility and listening when you and I started playing together, because if you could look behind us, there's his drum set is here in my office. And when people would start to see us rehearsing, they would say, who are you rehearsing with? And we would say each other, and they would say, really? Like, no way, that's impossible. Like, how does that work? And just the idea that we're doing something different, we're doing something unexpected, but to us, it makes total sense. And I think that's why it was important to me to call the project we do, the first record that we're making that's coming out at the end of this month, April 25th, 2005, is Spaces, because it is about finding space for each other.
Exactly.
And finding space in the music. Like, maybe allowing there to be moments in the music where there's actual silence, where we're playing the silence. And thinking about that. And then we had to make space for one another because we are so different. We had to think about everything about the instruments and how they sound, and like our dynamic range and our sonic palette. I have to play amplified, but in a beautiful way that still brings out the acoustic nature of my instrument. You have to play really percussively and beautifully on the drum set without, to make room. We're making room for each other. And then I think it's showing people that, maybe now is a good time to reinforce that it's so valuable to make room for one another in music and in life.
You know what? I don't think that we are making really room for us because you know your place and I know my
Yeah.
place. So what we do is trusting each other.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Make it,
playing,
make,
yeah.
if I had to make room for you, it
Yeah.
means that I had to stop playing something
Right.
in order you to play. But I mean,
Right.
I think that this is more deeper than leaving
Yeah.
room for each other. This is like the trust that we have is what
Yeah.
makes those spaces.
Right. The trust that you have makes space.
You know what I
And then
mean?
you just live in the space. You
Yeah.
just show up in the space.
Yeah, because I trust you so much. When you whatever you're gonna do, and when I do something, you are like laughing and having this good time. And so, yeah, it's the trust. But I have two questions for Cheryl.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cheryl, I have two questions for you.
Yeah, ask.
And the first one, I wanna ask them together. The first one is, it had to do with the question that you were asking me. Why did you ask me how do I manage my maybe no ego, you didn't say ego, or by coming from Cuba and being humble to learn something that is making more strong. Why do you ask that? That's the first question. The second is, when you listen to me and King and myself together, what are your thoughts about it? So let's answer one and let's answer the second one.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. Well, I was asking you that because I was thinking about sometimes students come and they're hanging on to maybe some part of their ego that is stopping them from that openness to learn. So, and I was thinking of you at you are at this incredibly high level of virtuosity. And I didn't hear you when you came to Boston, but I'm sure you were playing at a very high level then. I'm very certain of that. And that you were able to drop your ego, or maybe, for you, maybe that wasn't a hard thing, but I do see sometimes students struggling with an identity, maybe even their identity. Like you had this identity as this Cuban musician and you love jazz, but you were able to open that and create who you are now, which encompasses like a whole world of musical expression. So I guess I brought that up to maybe have students think about that when they're coming to learn, to be able to let go of their ego and, maybe, you need to be able to do that, to leave that space to grow. So I thought that was, just interesting to ask you about what your process was in that, or if that was a struggle or that was easy to do, because it's not always easy to do that, especially you come and you've been known as a certain kind of player in a certain way. Well, maybe even that's the way with Kim, because here's, you guys are talking about like, I'm a classical musician, this is jazz musician, like these identities, and you have an ego based around that, to let go of that, to make something new. Maybe that's what the Spaces is about.
Yeah, in a
And
way.
I'm not talking about like you're walking around with a big ego, like, beating your chest. I mean that ego that is identity. Like I identify with this label, or this is what I've always done, or maybe think about some students. Sometimes they had identity, like they were the best player in town. wherever they came from. And now they've got to come to this place. You know, it's kind of like they were a big fish, but now they're going into a big pond. And they have to kind of let go of that and like be like, okay, I'm going to swim among the other fishes. So I guess that's why I asked that question.
Okay,
I
okay.
I think we share that. I mean, I didn't think about it until you said it, but I did that when I came to Berklee because I loved being classical guitarist. I loved it, and I had already started to play almost all new music just because I loved working with my friends who were composers, and I thought it was just, super interesting to have that kind of relationship. But I really wanted to learn how to improvise, especially more free. And have it be instinctual. And so I worked so hard, as you both know, with one of our colleagues, learning that every week. And then Mela, you were the first person from spontaneous composition and from improvised music that showed up in my room and said, like, I want to play with you, outside of the person who had been my teacher. So it was a huge moment for me to feel comfortable in that space. But I'm so proud. It's one of the things I'm actually proud of myself for doing, was coming out of my comfort zone after coming to Berklee and learning from all of you who were doing this thing in music that I so loved and felt like I had never been super comfortable doing myself. So that's why it's very special to me, Sheryl, what about Mela's second question? Like, what do you hear when you hear the two of us play together?
Well, I really hear all those things that you're talking about, is that trust and the communication and the joy that's there. You know, it's a joyful experience. And because you're blending composition with improvisation, there's always that moment of surprise. You know, I feel you guys being surprised, and then that surprises me, and that makes me want to listen more. You know, and that interactive. But and I think that's so important, what you're talking about there about trust. And also I find a lot of people, or maybe some of our students, when they come into play, they just look down. They don't look at the other players, and that's really where it is. And that can be because you have to be you're like vulnerable, right? You're afraid maybe you're going to get a funny look, like, that's not happening, or you know what I mean? And you have to be open and engaged like that, and listening. You know, that act of listening is a vulnerable state, right?
Yeah, and to your point, I've heard you do this, and you're playing over the many years you and I have known each other, and I've also heard Ben do this. In order to grow, you and actually leave your comfort zone, you have to have a deeper trust in yourself. Like the erroneous assumption, I think, with people is that if they stay in their comfort zone, it's a more of a place of strength. And that could be true if that's all you love. If you leave your comfort zone to do something that scares you because you love it, that's a position of strength that you have to be in, because you have to trust yourself first. And then I think that's what other people pick up on. I had begun to believe in myself as a composer and an improviser. And I think because of that, I could be centered enough so that I could welcome an invitation. Maybe 5 years ago, I would have run away from it. I would have said, thank you, I like you so much.
No, me too.
Yeah. Right?
Who do you want to play with? I'm sorry, look, I gotta get.
Goodbye. Oh, I'm so busy. I can't do it. Or you find a way to say that you're busy or that you don't have time or something.
I think that this is what it is. I got a colleagues here sometimes that they've been telling me since 2004. Hey man, let's play. But every day is let's play. But we never get together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sheryl, over the years, you developed a sense of yourself. I mean, I think you had that in the beginning, maybe just because you had, you're a leader and also you're playing in other people's groups. But over the years, you had to develop the self-trust as you developed your sound.
Yeah, I think that's important. But I wanted to go back to earlier. You asked me about talking about Mela playing, and you unveiled it in this great conversation about the listening. I feel like when I hear you play, the listening is so deep, and that makes you so versatile in so many things. And not playing or I say quote unquote not playing, because you're listening for the sound in the space, and then you're interacting with it. And I think that's also another thing our students need to think about in terms of, sometimes they will ask about comping, because drummers are the great compers, right? You're really comping, you're listening and supporting, right?
Sometimes.
No, but that's what I think about. And also, yeah, the sounds that you get, whether I hear you play with the fringe or I hear you playing, like I had to study you because I did some work with Rebecca Klein,
Really?
and yes, and she sent me some video of the gigs to study to learn the music. So I hear you doing that stuff, or maybe more traditional jazz stuff, like when I've played with you with Jason Palmer. And then we did the little Hendrix thing. So you kind of were playing some rocking out things. So you're so versatile because you have listened to a lot of things.
I don't
That
consider, Cherry,
shows in.
I don't consider myself versatile at all. Because if you tell me, you ask me, play a rock and roll big like real one, I don't know. Play this, I don't know. But the listening is what makes you like, the listening open doors everywhere. I thought sometimes in the past that I needed to, in order to play good rock and roll, I had to be a rock and roll player and play 24 hours, no, 25 hours of rock and roll music. It didn't happen. Why? It start happening when I start listening, that if you do something related to what I hear, and I am, let's say, if I react to that moment in a appropriate way by listening, it makes the sound great, because it's not about that groove, it's about how I listen and comping or accompany you. And so the listening is being, I didn't play with McCoy Tyner because I was a great jazz drummer. Not at all.
He's pointing to his ear if you're listening.
When the guy was playing Blues in the Corner, I remember McCoy telling me one time, Sheryl, because I think that he heard me trying to play like someone, and he asked me, "What are you doing?" No, I'm trying to play like, I think that I say like Elvin John or someone. He said, "No, no, 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 no. I can't call Elvin John. He's right there. No, no, no. Play wherever you want, Cuban, wherever you want." I swear to God, he said, play wherever you want, Cuban, Mozambique, whatever music you want. As long as swinging, that's what I need.
Right.
Sheryl, I thought that the guy wanted me to play like the three player with McCoy, Elvin three player. The drummers go crazy with the chicata, chica, cupica, and then start to move their hands like the arm like chica, chica. I said, no, don't do that. Just play. You know what? Just play cha, but make it swinging. And I was like, are you serious? Yes, I don't want you to play like someone else.
Right.
Play. And I asked him, where did he learn what he knows? I asked McCoy, and he said to me, Mela, let me tell you this. The one who brought me to McCoy, to John Coltrane band, was Elvin Jones. I was a little kid, 17 years old. Elvin Jones introduced me to John Coltrane. I was so happy to be there, he said. And I know that I love to study Wynton Kelly. Wynton Kelly, and Bob Powell. Actually, Bob Powell played his own piano in his beauty shop, his mother's beauty shop. Bob Powell one day stopped. Oh, you went, because he left. He used to live next building. So McCoy said he was studying that thing. But when he went to John Coltrane, John Coltrane, the only thing that he gave him was a little piece of paper with some chord changes. This is the gig tonight. Well, let's play this. And McCoy says that he was happy to approach his Bob Powell and Wynton Kelly. He played the little paper. He finished the chorus and he stopped playing. And McCoy stopped crazy. And at some point, he said that John Coltrane looked at him and said, "What are you doing? The music is finished. There's no more music." He said, "Don't you hear me?" John said, "Don't you listen to me? That's the music. Play." And so that's why listening is responsibility. He developed those chords with those quarters, whatever. And he had to change the whole idea or approach that he was calling Wynton Kelly or Bob Powell to his own become a man. Become a man. Play. This is the music. And so all those 9 years being with McCoy really helped me to know the drummer, the artist, because the drummer, anyone play drums better than whatever, it's all the chops over there. I don't know how to do that. But this is what is making me go to places. And so that's why talent is a gift. Anyone can be gifted. God, thank you for the gift. But what about you? What do you do after that with the talent if you don't listen? So I think that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what helped me to play with you and with Ben. What do you play?
He plays rock guitar.
Okay, Ben, let's play anytime. Ready? I just gonna play my Cuban rock and roll.
All right, sounds good.
I'm going to turn it over to Ben in a second, but I want to say one thing about what you just said that's so important. You become yourself when you listen, and
you become a real growing-up person.
like a grown-up person.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like a mature musician, a mature person. Because you say a lot of the times we're not playing our instruments.
Yeah.
We are playing together, and that's why even on the front of the recording we don't put our instruments. We just put our names.
Yeah.
Like it's the two of us playing together.
Yeah.
It's not
having fun.
It's that the instrument is our tool that we
Yeah.
use. But another thing I wanted to say is that one really meaningful time, the first time I really remember working with you, we weren't playing, and Sheryl wasn't playing either. It was a concert we did for Mick Goodrick to celebrate him, what was really the end of his life, and welcome a lot of his former students back in some fashion, to be in touch with him and to be here. And I just remember how emotional that was, that whole set of days when we were together, so many of us, and others were sending in messages and videos, and you had to be present with us. We pretty much lived in the Berklee Performance Center, and you were there with us, and you really held space for me, for Sheryl, for all these different musicians in making that a special night. I even remember in the concert being in the wings, and there was this beautiful video that Lainey Stern had sent in, and we were dancing on the side of the stage as they were playing. And I think that matters. And I'm sure, Sheryl, you had that in your mind when you were thinking who would be a percussionist drummer that we could invite to help you and I really honor that moment. And that must have been what you had in mind when you invited Mela.
Absolutely. Just thinking about the weight of the event
Yeah.
And it's a spiritual event, and you need that openness to bring that in. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I was so happy when you guys invite me. So happy.
We loved it. I mean,
I
that's
was so
why I
happy.
knew that we could play together. After that night, I knew we could do it.
I was so happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially we you it's Nick or Mick?
Mick Goodrick. Yeah.
Goodrick.
Yeah.
You know, I played with Mick
Yeah.
and Esperanza, but I didn't know who he was.
Oh.
And we play as scholars. But that was a quartet or trio? Quartet.
Yeah.
I think that was a quartet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just remember Mick over there until I really start like, who's this person? Because I met Mick through Esperanza from that concert.
Right.
And so now I investigate his music, Paul Motion, all this. I say, forget about it. That's it. And when you call me, you say, Mick Godry event, I say, okay,
Yeah.
thumbs up, let's do it.
Because he was able to listen to the concert.
No.
He was not well enough to come. And everyone who
He
was
listened
playing,
to the concert?
Yeah, he was.
He was listening?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes. And
Well,
listened to it over and over.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope I
He
didn't
did love it.
disappoint him.
No, I know he loved it. And I think, those moments are so challenging because the people who are having the heaviest moment are the people who are making the music. And so to be able to support everyone in those moments is really deep. And I think in a way it shows you when you do this correctly, when everything works right, that's what we should be doing for each other all the time. Is holding space.
Yeah.
Not making space, but holding space.
Holding space.
and coming to a space with each other. If we can do more of that all the time, I think we're in good shape,
Nice.
Okay, Ben asks a question every time. Are you ready
Yeah.
for the question? Go ahead, Ben. Ask the question. Yeah.
What is one question that you think that students should be asking that they're not thinking of when they're here?
Repeat the question again.
So what's a question that you think students should be asking that they're not thinking of when they're here at Berklee? Something that they might not think to be asking, but they should be.
They should be asking themselves if they are trying to prove who they are to the people or to themselves.
Oh.
They should be asking this, and this has to do with what Sheryl was saying, with the behaviors, the new student, when they come from their little hometown, they are superstar over there, and then when they see everybody is a superstar, they get lost, and then they should be asking themselves, should I prove this to people or to myself? And the answer is you should be proving to yourself first. That's gonna make you calm down, concentrate what you wanna really do, and then later, that is gonna guide you to be a better person. That later you don't have to prove what you do to know anybody, because now you are confident, you are relaxed, you are not confused. You're walking on the street, happy and proud of what you've been working on to have what you have right now. And that makes you humble, because now you are cool. Insecurity makes you have ego, talk back a lot, have ego, being insecure. All those negative things that human being, no musician, human being put out there is because something inside is not working, because they want to prove something outside that they don't have yet. So answering according next to that, I wanted to put this. Sheryl, one of the things that helped me back on the day when I got here with my Cuban thing, it was that I knew that I didn't have to prove anything to anybody, because I didn't have anything. I need to prove to myself that I had to learn jazz, and so tomorrow I can play with a jazz drummer. I remember going sometimes to jam session, and they will call me. No, 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 no. Let's play Latin thing, bro. No, no. We got a guy for the swing. And I was like, really? I want to swing. Yes, I've been practicing. No, 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 no. Let's go. How do you play the tumbao? They really were discriminating me. Play the tumbao, play the Latin jazz, play the clave. And then that band helped me to prove myself that I can do it. That makes me relax. So later, I didn't have to prove to anybody, because now my sound is telling everybody that I can do it. But that was later. And so that is something that I will recommend to a student. Before prove anybody, prove to yourself that you can make it. And so that's your homework.
Ben, as we're kind of coming to the end of our hour, and I think I want to throw it back to you. Just what are your thoughts about that answer? Because I think you're closer in age to that of our young students. Like, how do you feel about that homework assignment, basically? Like, how does that resonate with you, and how would it have resonated with you as a student if you heard that?
I love that answer. That's probably my favorite answer so far out of all these. It's also kind of been an ongoing conversation, with my band, through the years as well. And it's definitely, it's an age thing, I think, to an extent. I think when you're young, and it's definitely coming from the side of when you go out there on stage when you're young, or whether it's in the studio, I think it's natural that you just feel like you have so much to prove, and you can easily get lost into overplaying and not listening. And a lot of times that has adverse effects, because then, you look and sound musically immature. So I think that's a great assignment to try to fix that, because that's confidence, that's strength, knowing, all right, I can do all these flashy, fancy things, but it's not serving the song. This environment does not call for that, and being able to hold yourself back. Because I think there's two sides of it. There's a side of, maybe not having the confidence to try to play something more complex, but then there's also the confidence of saying, yeah, I can do it, but this isn't the time for that. And I think that one's arguably, in my experience, harder. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough.
And you know what, Ben? That answer goes straight to your heart. Don't let it doesn't go anywhere else. To your heart and to your brain. Just prove yourself. Don't try to play. To prove me nothing. I know what's going on. You prove yourself that you can do it. That was the lesson that Elvin. Do you know Elvin Jones? Mm-hmm. Elvin Jones is the drummer for John Coltrane. I went to Regatta Bar to listen to him, and as a young guy, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just know that I opened my mouth in an inappropriate way. And he said to me, listen to me, young man. It's a lot easier to impress than play good.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
You see, I didn't go Berklee. I didn't study here. Mm. But that was my lesson. It's easier to impress. It means that you're talking too much and you're not playing nothing. Mm. It's easier to impress than play good. It did not even say play great, play good.
Sheryl, what's on your mind as we're coming to the end of our hour?
That was
here?
Elvin Jones, man.
I don't know. This was great. I'm going to go back and listen to this one over and over again. I'm stealing all your stuff, man. I'm stealing all your licks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, listening is a responsibility. I love that one. Well, we're going to keep hanging out. I want to say at the end here, Sheryl and Mela play together. Ben has a beautiful group. Mela and I play in a beautiful duo. Listen to your teachers. Listen to people who you're listening to us talk. Go listen to our music, and then share your own music. And go out wherever you're living and hear something live. And then also have a good listening experience, like find a record that you really love and give yourself a whole hour to listen, just all the straight through. You know, give yourself some space and give yourself a listening homework in your town and with all your resources. What's your last thought, Mela?
And go to the concerts. And
Yes.
when you go to the concerts, remember the music's watching you.
That's a
No
lovely
pressure
thing.
there. No pressure
No
there.
pressure. The music is watching you and it's inviting you. It's inviting you, you know, so accept the invitation and come and listen and be a part of live music and be a part of recorded music in your own life and with the people around you. Thanks everyone for such a great conversation. Thank you, Mela. Thank you, Sheryl. Thank you, Ben. And for all of you listening, thank you for spending time with us, and we'll be with you on the next Coffee Talk.
Coffee talk. Bye.
Bye.